Thank you, David.
All right. Okay, let me throw up that. And I'll pin. So I'll spotlight that for now.
Mike, have you received my request for local recording permission?
I have, yes.
Will you give me permission today, please?
Oh, didn't I? I thought I did.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I see Mimo. Yeah, Mimo Live Recorder's in. Robert, yeah, you're in recording mode.
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Okay.
Testing the meters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Eh.
Hello, Robert. I am speaking now just to test my voice and see my levels, and we're aiming for 20 in this meeting, aren't we?
Yep, we're looking for minus 20.
I didn't hear what you said. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, Lois. Hi, we're live streaming. We haven't started yet, so
No,
you're
that's
most
right.
welcome. We're looking for minus 20, yes.
Minus 20. Okay, that was good then. So I will go get what I need and be right back. Happy day.
All right. Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning. We are here live on the infamous YouTube. Welcome everyone to the Zoom Test Kitchen. As David would say, hi everybody. We're here. All right, so we're here, and our infamous David will be joining us very, very soon. So do stand by. And I'll do the normal greetings as David would. We're going to have the gallery come up here momentarily in the infamous Zoom so that everybody will be up on camera. And you'll get to see everybody's wonderful faces. And we'll go around the room as David usually does, and I will do so as well. So we'll start it off with infamous Robert. Go right ahead, Robert.
Hi everyone, good to see you, Mike. Good to see you, everyone around. I'm getting an echo in my ears. I don't know if you're hearing it as well.
I am not.
That's good news.
I am not. Yes, and we actually have Robert's Mimo live in here too, so we'll talk about that in a bit as well. What Robert's up to there as well. All right, let's talk. Let's say hi, Lois. Come on in and say hi to everybody.
Hi. Well, I've come today with 2 questions. So when we get around to that, I've got some stuff for us to talk about.
Excellent. Lois broke stuff this week. That's cool. We'll figure out what she broke. Okay. Hasma, come on in and say hi.
Hey, good evening from a very, very cold Cape Town. Nice to be here.
Excellent. Excellent. We're glad you're here. We're glad you're here. Mr. Frank, my co-Canuck in crime.
Yes.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
All
How
right.
was the week?
Good. I'm on vacation, so it's been a good week.
Oh, lucky man. Lucky man. Excellent. And we've got James. James, how you doing there, bud? Are you ready to say hi to everybody or no? Or are you just being shy today? Oh, you're being shy today. All right. Shy it is. Okay, cool. So, all right. So that was actually a lot quicker than I expected, that everybody was very quiet and quick today. Yes, I know. It is August, so I don't know if that means anything or not. So we'll go down that road too. But okay. So Lois, I guess we'll start off with you. Go right ahead and tell everybody what's going on this week that you broke or didn't break.
I'm looking at your Mimo Live thing and notice that when you spoke to James and he did not have his microphone on, that he didn't show up in the middle of that screen. And so maybe later on we can talk about that sort of thing. But I have 2 questions and they are audio related. First of all, now, as you all know, I do a radio show, and Don Shore is the garden expert, and he and I do it on Zoom, and we chat back and forth, and we have a real good time. And a lot of times he'll say something and I'll laugh, or I'll say something and he'll be talking too, so that there's 2 voices at the same time. Lately, in the last 2 weeks, whenever one of us is speaking, the other one's voice is shut down. So we can't hear both of us at the same time on the recording. Any ideas of why that might be, and any way to get it back to being the way it was? Because we like having our 2 voices commingle. Hey, John.
Hey, John, go for it. You got an answer for Lois? And hi, John, by the way.
Yeah, hi. The first thing I'm going to say, Lois, is do you realize there's the ability to record the audio separately?
Yes.
Okay. So
I hate to have to merge those. It's an extra step.
Yeah, but I always run that when I have any discussion type situation.
Yeah.
Because then if you talked over each other, you've always got the ability to edit back so you don't, so you overlap each other, so to speak.
But we want to overlap each other. That's the desire.
Then I think you have to look at the noise cancelling options of Zoom.
Great.
Because I do feel that they changed the rules of how the noise cancelling works, and yet we never see any reference to that in Zoom updates. I think they are fiddling with it on a continuous basis.
So what settings do I need to get back to having merged voices?
I would try and turn off noise cancellation and see what happens.
Turn off noise cancellation. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that the same thing as turning on original sound?
That is turning on original sound is turning off noise cancellation. Yes.
Okay. Well, we'll try that. And
But you are, I'm assuming you're both on two separate Zoom accounts while you're doing this. Completely
yes.
completely separate rooms.
Different cities and everything.
Yeah.
It would be like us here talking and that sort of thing. Okay, so that's
But I don't know, a general rule I have and have had for quite a long while is Zoom is not really allowing 3 or 4 people to talk at the same time.
right.
That seems to be a general trend in the way it works, that it doesn't have that situation.
Yes, but that's
I'm hoping
we had
that very shortly I will get Zoom rooms, because I would like to see, and maybe those that have used Zoom rooms could comment on this. I want to see if the rules in Zoom rooms, where you have 3 or 4 people, and Frank's going to say something useful now, isn't he? 3 or 4 people in the same room, how Zoom differently deals with the situation of people in the same room, but coming through different mics and being treated differently.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Frank, are you finding stuff for us? Is that what that was all about? That John saw you doing?
Well, I will test that out. We record our radio show every week, and y'all are invited to come and listen to it. It's the Davis Garden Show. We're live Thursday we're recorded, but we broadcast Thursday at noon, and then we're archived. So kdrt.org, by the way. So I will report back to y'all as to whether John's fixed our problem.
I will also go to the Zoom community group that I'm part of as a group community champion. I'm going to bring this issue up at our next meeting and see if I can get a definition of what rules the AI is doing when multiple people talk at the same time, and when you add sound, because that's the other complication, isn't it? You might have computer sound enabled to bring a background sound effect, or maybe some background music. That again is not treated in the same way. That's usually treated the same at the same time.
All right. Well, thank you. So that leads me to my second question.
Wait. We're not done with your first question.
Hey, Frank.
Go, Frank.
So my understanding and what I've read is that Zoom allows 3 simultaneous people to speak at the same time. So one thing you might want to consider is, I see that you're not wearing headphones. If your microphone can hear your speakers, there's a good chance Zoom will subtract sound because it thinks that's noise, because it's hearing itself. Another thing is that your operating system also has a built-in noise reduction, noise cancellation. So you want to make sure you turn off your operating system's noise cancellation, or it can conflict with Zoom's operations. And that would be true on both ends of the conversation. So your friend also has to make sure that their operating system's noise cancellation isn't impacting anything.
Yeah, because Lois, you could actually be set up properly, but he might not be.
And I'm going to have to go listen to the recording of this because my internet connection is fading in and out, and I'm not hearing parts of things. So I will go and do that after we're done. Thank you.
No problem. Did you have another question, Lois?
Yes. All right. So I have another friend who also does a radio show on KDRT, and she is not very good with computers. And she is not able to put in music into her show when she's recording it. She's able to play a CD player in the room, but that's not getting what she needs. And so my thought about a solution to that was to have a Zoom meeting with 2 people instead of just 1. And she can do her own thing, and then she can flag me when it's time to play music, and I can be her music player. So in that situation, she's going to be recording. What settings do I use on my computer to make it so that Zoom accepts the songs that I'm going to play from my computer? as part of the recording.
Okay. Couple of things that I'm thinking of is the potential of playing back the audio through whatever audio interface that you're using. If it's just that you're plugging in USB into the computer, then that's a different scenario. Another thought that I have is that you could actually, again, as long as it's only an audio-based podcast or radio show that you're doing, Lois, I would also maybe share the audio player into the meeting as another way of getting the audio source in so that you're actually playing the audio as if it was an audio video clip.
So I was unclear on what I said. I'm going to be on my computer. I'm going to have her song on my computer, and I'm going to play it on my computer.
Okay. Okay. So
what
what?
settings do I use to make Zoom hear the stuff that I'm playing? I'll be using iTunes or whatever to play it.
Right. So again, what I would probably do, Frank, yeah, go ahead and I'll come back.
Yeah. So the thing I said last also applies to playing music this way. Noise reduction from your operating system might knock out your music, as well as Zoom's noise reduction. So you have to make sure both of those things aren't interfering.
Okay. I will turn off noise suppression and use original sound on both computers, I assume.
For sure yours, because you're playing the music.
Okay. And John, what did you have?
Right.
When it comes to playing music, you have two options, and those two options really are two places from which you can make the sound come from. If you've got a mixer, maybe you're using OBS or you're using some software like that, you can add that as a sound within that application and play the music through the audio. So it will come through your speaking sound, and that's when you need original sound. Otherwise, it will be killed out. The second way you can do it is you can share the sound system of your computer. So if you go to the advanced section of the share, and if you want to click on it now, you won't break anything. You can click on the share button, and if you go to the advanced tab, which is at the top, you can share your computer audio. And that would mean that any sound that your computer sees as computer audio, in other words, that would come out of your default speakers, which includes beeps from email programs saying there's an email coming in, and should include anything that you try and play, like some music track through a video player or an audio player, that should come through the computer audio. And that is a second sound source coming from you into Zoom. You don't need to have all those settings set up on your voice if the music is coming through the separate way in through the computer audio.
So John, if I do that, are you saying that if I were recording, that when I looked at the audio recordings, instead of having 2 tracks, it would have 3 tracks?
That is a great question. I don't think that is true, because I only understand in the Zoom definition that you get 1 audio track per person. But it is a good question, and now one of us needs to run away and check it to find out if it does create a second one for originals for a separate computer sound. I don't think it does, but actually on reflection, I think it would have been a good idea if it did.
Well, if it didn't, then you would have the same problem with voices cutting out sound and that sort of thing, wouldn't you?
No, because it usually mixes in from
Okay.
the audio.
Well, thank you. That should
And
solve.
at this point, if I could actually find some music on my computer, if I could think of where the music on my computer and play it separately, I could do an example, couldn't I? So let me disappear for a second. And has anyone else got the ability to get that going straight away?
But
Yeah.
here that
John, make sure that, John, when you find it, that it's royalty free, please. Of course. Go ahead, Lois.
Well, it must be if it's from YouTube, mustn't it?
this is also not a good place to do that, because when we have so many people that if you were to record, you'd have to be recording, and then if you had it set so that you would get individual sounds from each person. And I don't think that you could do that in this meeting. I think we'd need a separate meeting.
Yeah, that makes
Okay,
perfect
I've got
sense.
some music playing,
Go on, John.
and you can probably just about hear it. Hopefully you can't though, because I haven't got any controls on. So I would expect Zoom to have got rid of the music that I'm playing in the background.
It's very soft.
Yeah. So if I now go to computer audio and I say I want to share computer audio, and I hit share, you should all hear it. Now, I won't know any different because it's not coming to me. So
Now it got really loud.
okay, so that is to explain what I've done. That is, I better stop it now, otherwise you can't hear me. So that was a YouTube video that I was playing, and that YouTube video was coming out through my standard speakers, and then I used the share sound computer sound option in the advanced options, which meant that Zoom grabbed that sound source and sent it straight out. So when you heard me at the beginning, you were hearing me because that sound source was coming out of my speakers into my microphone and off down to you. When it got really loud, that was because that was still happening, but now Zoom was grabbing the audio source directly off YouTube video that was playing and put it straight to you.
So that means that if I'm going to do this for my friend, I'm going to have to get the sounds that she wants me to put into her radio program and drop into somewhere, Zoom Test Kitchen or the after hours or someplace that has meters, and see what the sound levels are. Because as you say, you can't tell what the sound levels are that are going out. And yours were really, really loud.
Correct. And I don't think even if you use the test speaker and microphone, I don't think you can actually see what noise you're going to get when you use the test speaker and microphone option. The way I do this, a little bit clunky.
That thing like you did, and then look at the meters.
Yeah. But the other way I do it is whenever I run meetings, I have an iPad here, very old iPad, and I always make it a member of the audience. And if I want to test audio levels or anything, I will take that into another room and I will just listen to it to see what it is hearing as the audience and compare, volume levels, etc. Also means I can go make a cup of tea in the middle of production and know what the audience is still hearing while I'm there. But that's the other way of doing it, to have a second device and then just listen in to the second device to find out what's going on.
I would trust the meters more than my own ears. My hearing is not that great, and so I might not be that good. Thank you all for answering both those questions. Any more comments on either one?
Yeah, Lois, the only other comment I can add is that, again, what John exactly said is doable. The only other thing, if you wanted to do as well, is you could actually share iTunes if you are going to use that as a player, right? So you could actually share that as an actual app in the actual during their when they want, she gives you some sort of cue, then you would actually hit play on the iTunes, and then it would actually play in there, and it would give you a little more control, as long as iTunes, and again, I'm not 100% sure iTunes has this capability, but most players do, where you actually can control the individual volume of iTunes.
Yes, Mike, I'm not understanding what you were thinking was the other way of doing it. I mean, if I'm playing it on my computer, I've got to use some app, and I would, of course, use iTunes, and I would have a slider. She wants to fade in and fade out and all this stuff. But what other thing were you thinking of, if not using an app on my computer?
Oh, no. What I was saying is that in Zoom, you could share the app instead of sharing your actual full computer audio, like John was showing. This is what I was saying as an example, right? Because you can actually go into the settings of share, and you can actually share a specific program and such. So that program you would be sharing iTunes into the meeting as the actual program itself, instead of sharing your full computer audio, which, again, what John was talking about would also include any computer sound. So should you get an email and you have your email open and you'll hear the ding that you got a new email, and that also will come through on the recording.
I guess I'll have to turn on iTunes before I can see that, because I don't see that as an option on share. So I'll work on this one also.
Okay.
Frank,
Yeah.
for me?
I was just reading, sorry.
Roland has put something in the chat. Let me read that. I prefer planning out as user using something like OBS, vMix, Wirecast, etc. Yeah, well, I don't use any of those, so we'll just skip that.
Yeah. And again, the reason that Roland wants to use those capabilities as well, is, like John was mentioning, is they do have a built-in player in them that you have a lot more granular control of the audio when you can actually hit it. And of course, again, depending on how sophisticated you can get to, you could also have companion or BitFocus companion or even Stream Deck's buttons actually be able to control it so that you could actually just hit a button on that to actually play and stop the audio.
I'm reading back over the chats. I just opened that up. And Roland says that John is significantly lower than Lois. And so we're aiming for 20, aren't we, on the meters?
Yeah. I think that was just related to John's new setup with his SM7, the Shure SM7B that he's got there.
Okay.
Yeah. So John, you're still sharing, just an FYI on that. And we'll take other questions or such. If anybody's got something in there that happened this week that you want to talk about, I do definitely have one, but go for it, Frank.
In the chat, I put at the beginning of the meeting that Zoom has announced that Google Docs will be released on August 5th. So sometimes they'd always meet their shipping deadlines, but that's what they've got on the release notes right now.
Okay.
Google Docs?
Zoom Docs.
That makes more sense.
Okay. And all right. So this is what we are actually talking about. So I can actually show that with everybody. So there we go. So this is the actual Zoom Docs. And just see here, I'll just make it a little bit bigger for everybody. There we go. All right. So this was back in, so they actually announced that back in 2023. As you can see there today at Zoomtopia, they announced that Zoom Docs was coming. So that is, so it looks like that is what it will look like within the actual Zoom meeting. That's a screenshot that they were demoing back at Zoomtopia 2023. So the actual doc will look like it's actually potentially looks like a share, but maybe not. Let me see if I could just zoom in a little further on that. See if we can get any. There we go. Interesting.
Frank's description includes this phrase. In addition, documents can be shared directly with other users or through team chat channels. Are we using team chat in this meeting?
We are not using team chat currently. Frank, maybe you can give us a little more on that.
It depends if you're using continuous meeting notes or chat, whatever it's called. Then it would go to the team chat channel after the meeting's over.
Why in some meetings, when you go down to chat, it says everyone, and in other meetings, it says team chat? Why is it different?
I've never seen that, but not saying it doesn't happen. I've just never seen it.
Is there a reason that this community, the panelists on Zoom Test Kitchen don't have some shared notes or chats or something so that we can continue our communication from one meeting to the next?
I think we do.
We do? Oh, I'll go look.
I get meeting notes in my Zoom client, desktop client. Just looking now, meetings, team chat, Zoom, test kitchen. Yeah, I have it. It's in my messages though. I think you're in there, eh, Mike?
I believe so. I was just looking. Frank, do you actually have a link to the Zoom Docs release notes for me? And I'll show that.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Give me a second.
Yeah.
I didn't navigate away.
And I do see Zoom Test Kitchen in the notes section, but there's nothing in it.
So I don't personally like using continuous meeting notes or whatever it's called that goes into the team chat from a privacy point of view, but I know a lot of people like it because if you weren't at the meeting, you can just go to the team chat. It's probably related to that, Lois, your question.
Okay. I was thinking that like when there's a question like I had and I said, and I'll do my homework, that there could be a place where it says Lois is doing her homework or whatever, but no biggie. I see a lot of things in this notes where we've been testing things. I think I'm gonna have to go clean it out.
So I put the link in the chat there, Mike.
Yeah, is that what I'm showing right now, Frank? Or is there more to it than that?
That is the right place, my friend.
Thank you. So yeah, so here we are. So this is exactly what we're talking about for Zoom Docs coming. That will be on Monday, infamous Monday. So they'll be talking about that in here. So let me just bring this up. Let me see if I can bring this up a little bigger. There we go. Okay. So that everybody on YouTube can see nicely. So basically introducing Zoom Docs. Zoom Docs allows users to collaborate and track projects easily and seamlessly. Users can draft, organize, and share material and documents whether they are in a meeting or not. They make most of their meetings. Users can transform the past and present meetings into actionable documents, wikis, and projects using meeting AI templates. Okay, so now AI is getting involved with this too. Zoom AI companion features further enhance efficiency by generating and translating the content. Okay. While creating materials, users have access to basic editing tools, block actions, interesting, various content types that can be added or embedded. Okay. In addition, documents can be shared directly with other users or through team chat channels. All right. The feature can be enabled or disabled at the account level or group level. And that's obviously for everybody, especially in Frank's situation, to make sure that this might not necessarily roll right away for all the people that he works with. But so any comments from anybody regarding the Zoom Docs? I guess we'll know more next week and we'll be able to possibly be able to play with this a little more next week in Zoom Test Kitchen. But at this particular point, that's all they're giving from what I've seen.
Documents are usually pretty small because they're text-based. I imagine, unless you put a lot of pictures, I imagine that'll count against your Zoom cloud storage. But, like I said, they're not huge files.
Right. So again, okay, so this, good. Yeah. So we could actually confirm that on, is it gonna, so basically what you're doing is the docs will live on the Zoom cloud instead of, so that everybody could actually, that's how they're going to be able to share it with everybody. So it's going to be similar to if anyone is doing the Microsoft 365 type scenario where you're sharing documents amongst each other in the cloud, or if you're using Google's equivalency of that, where you're sharing it on Google Cloud or yeah, I'm trying to think of the Google Drive. There we go. What the actual stuff will be able to be used in the, so this will be meeting linked. Okay. Yeah, that'll be interesting to do, to look at. Okay.
So in the chat, I put a picture of in a meeting how you can share. I imagine after Monday there'll be another choice here, which is Google Docs.
Right. Right. So yeah, so let me see here. Yeah. Is that going to give me the same article? Probably. Yeah. Okay. That's all right. Okay. So yeah. So Zoom Docs coming to Zoom client near you. Speaking of Zoom clients, actually, this is a good segue that I wanted to remind everybody as of this weekend. As a matter of fact, as of, I'll read it verbatim here from our friends at Zoom. It is the scheduled Zoom Software Quarterly. What does that mean for everybody? That means that as of 5 p.m. Pacific, they will be grandfathering older versions of Zoom in the following software within the Zoom architecture. So this will be the Zoom app, of course, which is the main app. Of course, Zoom Rooms and the controllers, the Zoom Phone, the VDI client, the virtual room connector, the meetings connector, the recording connector, the meeting SDK, the video SDK, and I'll show you the versions that are affected there. The Zoom Contact Center SDK, the Zoom Node, and Zoom Phone local survivability module. So again, this takes effect as of 5 p.m. Pacific tomorrow. So what does that mean? So that means that the following versions are actually now forced minimum. So no longer will you be able to, what has been in effect up till now has been 5.15.5 for workplace. Now they're going to be mandating 5.16.6. So anyone with anything older than that could actually run into a lot of problems when you're connecting via meetings. And again, that's based on, as you can see, the different versions there, Windows, Mac, Linux, et cetera, et cetera.
Wait, BlackBerry. Do people still use BlackBerry?
Yeah, believe it or not, BlackBerry's still there and they're still updating it. Isn't
Wow.
that the coolest thing?
It's amazing. So Zoom's policy is you can only be 9 months behind the most current release, right? When they do these quarterly enforcements. Your client has to be within 9 months of the current enforcement.
Right. And the next one that is actually going to be enforced is, again, per this support document, will be in November again. And then they will be going up to 5.17.5. So it's very important that if you do have any upcoming meetings this week, that should you have clients that haven't at least meet the 5.16.6, which will be the workplace app, aka the Zoom client, as we used to call it back in the 5.0 days. So just letting everybody know that 5.16.6 is now the new enforcement minimum.
Well, the current version of Zoom today is 6.16. So I mean,
right,
you're still going to be able to use a 5 point whatever version. I know some people don't like the 6 point release yet, but eventually they're going to have to move to it or change platforms.
Right, exactly. So Zoom Rooms, it's going to be 5.14.5. Notice that there is a bit of difference, 5.16 there and 5.14. So there is no consistency with Zoom on, it's going to be 5.16.x through all the different versions of the software. So it is important, should you have different versions.
I think the consistency is it's 9 months. So whatever was released 9 months ago is the consistency.
Okay. All right. So yeah. So again, as you can see, the different version numbers. So you just have to make sure that any of the versions that you actually are running at your locations from this list, that you make sure that you're at least at the minimum enforcement. And this one is for our friend, Mr. John. You are forced to be at least 5.16.6 for the meeting SDK, and for the video SDK, you're 1.8.10. Meeting SDK 2.17.0, and the video SDK for web, and sorry, for meeting SDK for web, video SDK for web, it's 1.8.7. Which other SDKs are you running, John?
No, I think you've covered them all. Thank you.
All righty. And again,
This is going to create some angry people who will probably just upgrade to the most recent version, but because they don't know that there's previous versions you can get, and there's a small but vocal minority of people don't like the 6-point series of Zoom right now.
and that's been in, you've seen that in the
Oh
community?
yeah, there's like a 90-page thread on I don't want Zoom Workplace. A lot of people don't even understand that Zoom Workplace is just Zoom rebranding their application, and it's really just Zoom 6 point whatever, where they made some major changes, and some people aren't happy about the major changes,
Right.
and some people don't want software to change ever because they know where everything is, and when the user interface changes, they get very upset because now they have to learn new things.
Right. Right.
Can I
And
just
this was-
interject what in my experience at the university is that we used to use the MSI installer, which is a machine-wide installer, which doesn't allow the end user to upgrade that client. And we have since we're floating between Teams and Zoom, and so we have people out there with a much older version that you have to fully uninstall. So if there's anybody out there that has had issues ever upgrading, we see that a lot in that Zoom community, is that you have to go into your fully remove the Windows product. It doesn't seem to be much of a problem in the Mac, but is to fully uninstall it and then install the Zoom Workplace client.
We use a similar workflow. We use an MSI to push the app to all the office computers, but
Right.
lots and lots of people have their Zoom apps on their personal devices where we don't control that, but we also force a minimum mandatory version 3 times a year.
Right.
So between semesters, we force everyone to upgrade after classes are over, actually after exams are over. So 3 times a year, we force everyone to a version that my team decides is appropriate. So we never get impacted by this Zoom lifetime quarterly whatever update, because we're always way past 9 months. We're not running software that's 9 months old ever.
Which is great. But if you didn't do it, you can have such an old version that the auto update just doesn't work.
That's right. If that ever happens, you have to uninstall Zoom and then download a fresh copy if you're that out of date.
Yeah, correct. I did run into that as well. Go ahead.
So here's a question. If someone, not in a corporate situation, just an individual, is so computer illiterate that they got Zoom, somebody put it on their computer, they're using it, and are they going to just be blocked, as in nothing's going to work, because they aren't going to know to update? Or are they going to be given a message that says, well, this doesn't work, you could use a browser? Or what will happen?
They'll
If-
get a message saying your Zoom client is out of date. Please update to a whatever, a current version or an allowed version.
And
But you won't be able to join a meeting until you do that.
And are there devices, either computers or phones or tablets or whatever, that cannot be updated to this? Or is Zoom sufficiently general that you don't have to worry about that. I know in some operating systems can't run on an older machine. Do we have that problem with Zoom?
To some extent, it's not a big problem, but there are devices that are just hovering on the edge. And at some point, if you can't upgrade the operating system anymore, if you're, then, and same thing with the apps, like if your device usually the operating system has to allow the application to be installed. So it's sort of they're intermingled, but yeah, there are some devices that probably won't be able to get on Zoom anymore. But that's a pretty old device.
Right. And again, in this enforcement too, they're definitely talking about, we've got Windows covered, we've got Mac, we got Linux, we got Android, which is Android phones, iOS, which is the late iOS phones, and Intune. I'm not sure what Intune is, but
It's a software for enterprise that allows administrators to install software and security control applications with security.
okay, cool. All right.
But recently Zoom, I think a release or two ago, dropped support for Windows 7 and 8 and certain versions of iOS and Android. And that's pretty typical for lots of software companies. It's not just Zoom doing that. It's a really big burden on a software company to try and support operating systems that are really old or not even supported by Microsoft anymore. Windows 7 is no longer supported by Microsoft. I don't think, is 8 still being supported? Does anyone know? But either way, I mean, those are pretty old operating systems for Zoom or any company to have to keep trying to keep secure, for one thing, because they don't have all the patches and stuff for malware and all kinds of other threat vectors.
Yeah, as Frank is actually talking about it, I did actually find a support document on this. So here are the current versions that supported operating systems that currently Zoom does support. So there you go. So there's the official answer. Frank wrote 8. You'll have to be running 5.17.11 will be the latest version for that. And if we go back to the quarterly, that is okay. So officially Windows 7 should be okay because we're basing it on this number, which is the 5.16.6. And the system here is actually saying it's version 5.17.11. We'll still work on Windows 7 and 8. Oh, no, actually, hold on. Yeah.
If you're running Windows 7, I'd want to, when I get support requests, if you told me you're running Windows 7, I would ask you why you're running Windows 7. I mean, if you've got an operating system that's talking into some ancient piece of technology that you have to have for some purpose, maybe, but generally speaking, being that far out of compliance on your operating system is asking for trouble.
Yeah, and that's commendable, actually, that right now still Zoom is actually still supporting those older operating systems. And Frank's right. So it's definitely, that's the situation. And again, so for the Mac world, so Lois, again, if you have any people that are connecting via Mac, they would have to be at least at that version, which it looks like 10.11. And just give me a sec here. Robert is doing some more testing, so I'm allowing that. There we go. All right, so Windows 11, of course, Windows 10. And of course, there's all the different flavors of.
If you scroll down, I'm not sure, but I know they dropped some versions of iOS. So if you scroll down further,
yeah. So
like tablets and stuff, like there's some other things they drop support for because they're really, really old, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Let me just see what we got here. We definitely got so there's all the bit rates. So they want you to, there's your upload and download speeds. Let me just see if there's anything else.
Mike, is this spotlighted so that the YouTube version is showing?
When I'm speaking, it is, but I can. Give me a second here. All right.
Hello, David.
Somebody just snuck back.
Hi, guys.
Hello. So we're just checking out right now, David, for your sake, what supported operating systems, because of the fact that as of Saturday, there will be the latest version will be 5.16.6. So we're just checking to see which versions would be affected operating system wise. Frank, I'm not seeing that in there, but we could just keep scrolling here. Just
I
give me a
think
sec.
if you scroll down, there's a hyperlink that'll take you to a new page about iOS. But
Okay, yeah, I think I saw that. One sec. There we go. All right.
same thing for Android. There are versions of Android and iOS that were recently cast aside as being too old that Zoom dropped support for.
Yeah, there we go. So Zoom mobile app is no longer supported for iOS 11 and 12 with version 6.
Is that because they're using technologies that aren't compatible anymore? Like, why is that? Does anyone know?
Well,
There's a bunch of reasons. One is when Zoom creates the SDKs and the code, they don't want to have to code to all these different various operating systems that are very ancient and out of date. It's just less overhead for them. But it's also other reasons like security threats and vectors that aren't being patched anymore because the company that makes the operating system isn't supporting them anymore. So why would Zoom support something that why would Zoom support a version of Microsoft that Microsoft's not supporting? Just makes it harder for everybody, right?
And there will
So
be
is it-
software features in the new updates that will not be available backwards as well. So my little iPad here, which I use to monitor everybody, is stuck on version 12.5.7 of iOS because Apple won't allow any more updates. So eventually that version of iOS will not be compatible with other programs. And I've already got 3 or 4 apps that won't work on that oldest version of iOS that I'm running because
Right. And
their software development kit uses features which are not compatible with an old version.
Hey, I just heard that there's a new thing out on the Mac where you can simulate an older operating system and run some of those things that don't currently run. Haven't seen it, don't know anything more about it. I just heard this rumor, wild rumor.
Okay.
Well, there's emulators. I'm curious about what we're watching down here on Fred's computer. It's very interesting.
Said hello to everyone in the room, and we've been joined by Dan and Pete and Fred and even David. And so let's do check-in. Mike, can you do that?
Of course. Yes. Mr. Paskin, say hello to everybody.
Hello to everybody.
Well, see, you're
That's all I
being
got.
very me. That's very
Wait,
me
no.
of you.
No. I'll show off. Look what I got.
Oh,
When you're particularly helpful to a Zoom person that you're friendly with, they send you one of these.
okay. All right. We're doing show and tell. All right. I'm ready to do show and tell.
It's show and tell day. Oh,
All right.
look at that. Everyone's
it-
showing off their Zoom
as
swag.
he comes up as he shows off his corkle.
Corkicle.
Yeah. So
What is corkicle?
it's
John's
a
got a
really fairly impressive.
Whoa.
All right, you're gonna make me go get my Zoom backpacks and stuff if you keep it up.
You know what, guys? I have one shirt, okay? One shirt.
Well,
I had
actually,
an entire
David, I was actually
kitchen
going to talk about
supplied.
this week because I actually just got this week because I was part of the Zoom developer conference.
So let's finish check-ins.
Go ahead, David. Take over for a second.
Oh, hi.
He doesn't know who's checked in and who
I have
Oh,
no idea. Wait, I'm just happy
he
to
does
see
this to
Robert.
me. Now
And
I'm
hi-
doing this to him. So
Hi,
this-
Dan. Hi, Pete. Say hi.
Hey, everybody.
One,
Been a
two,
while.
is it
Good to
working?
see you.
Dan, I'm so happy to see you here.
Is it working? Click. Yeah, here we go. How's everyone today?
Good. Pete, you're just making noise over there. What are you doing? I was saying hi to Dan, and you're like, is Mike on? Good to see you, Pete. How are you?
I'm doing good. We're one of my clients I work at is constantly changing their system on site. So it's always a challenge to get updates about what's going on with it.
Gotcha. Fred, you're showing off over there. What are you showing off?
Sorry, I'm working friends and family right now, and I'm trying to get a hold of the camera guy, so I got to jump off for a second.
Go. I saw that someone from the office hours community was working the Olympics. Is that true? I don't remember who it was.
I know that. I'm trying to remember his name. Mickey. There we go. Mickey's there.
Mickey's working, of course. Right, I forgot. Hasmek, how are you? Good to see you, sir. Good to see you. And back to you.
Thanks, David. We're getting more professional. This is getting scary. I don't know what to do, David. I just don't. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So this week, it's perfect timing. So I want David's input on this one as well. And I actually mentioned this to John earlier this week when after our meeting this week with the Zoom events group, I had a weird thing happen to me. So I'm going to be as if, you know, I'm as Lois brings different things. This one was an interesting with me, and it actually caused me to freeze during the meeting, but it wasn't bandwidth related, video related, but it was audio related. So let me explain. So during the meeting, we were talking, and then all of a sudden I started going, well, Zoom decided to do a pop-up and say, are you using music? You should be changing your audio settings. Has anybody seen that? Oh, David's already nodding.
Oh, wonderful. What a smart thing they have in their Zoom. Were you humming?
I didn't think I was, but obviously the Zoom client, I was sort of going, yeah, maybe, I wasn't being very, I was using a bit of a musical tone-ish type of, and then all of a sudden it did a pop-up and it said, are you playing music? You should really change your audio settings.
It sounds like this is the perfect thing for the test kitchen. We could all hum and see what we get on our own things. I'll start.
So yeah, I have heard that, Mike.
Okay.
Lois, please. So
wow.
I have
David's
seen,
back. Okay.
I have seen that, but you know what else I've seen is I can let him in now. I didn't know I was a co-host. If I play, very often I'm leading services or teaching a Jewish class, and I'm using Hebrew, and it will say, are you speaking in, it sounds like I think the pop-up says, it sounds like you're speaking in Hebrew. And then it offers to change the, I guess it's the captioning, right?
Okay, sure.
So there's those smarts going on also. It's listening to what it sounds like, and it's listening to the language that it thinks it's hearing.
Very interesting.
Those are helpful pop-ups as long as they don't become annoying.
Right. But again, it freaked me out because it was in the middle of the meeting. All of a sudden this pop-up came up and I thought I was having a network connectivity issue or Zoom was having a fit in one way or another, but it was more of a helpful pop-up, which it looked like it was more of a concern pop-up. So there wasn't really a distinguishing thing. And even the person that I was speaking to, all of a sudden when I saw the pop-up, I froze because I was like, oh, wow, that was different. It was a bit shocking to me. And on top of that too, I actually said, hold on a second, I have to write this down. So I actually wrote this down to make sure that I brought it to the Zoom test kitchen to let everybody know that this happened to me this week. So
that must be something that is turned on or off at a higher level than this, because I hummed a lot. I didn't get any message here. So
I was just going to ask you if you saw anything on your computer. Yeah. I wonder if it's
else would hum with me, so we don't know.
I mean, I wonder if just to test this, let me intentionally play something that is not even a voice, just to see if it. I also wonder, like, how long it takes or something.
It came on right away. There was no loss of
Yeah, I'm not getting any pop-ups yet.
Now,
Are
David,
you on
you're
original
right.
sound? Because I think it would probably ignore you if you're on original sound.
No. Oh, well, I'm on original sound, but I don't have it turned on.
Okay, yeah. See, for
Well,
me, I was,
it's not killing your guitar music either, which I would expect it to have done.
No, but it's not killing it because I always keep it set to low, whatever it's called. It's
Okay,
set to
so-
low background noise suppression, and when you have it set on low, most of the audio gets through.
Interesting. Okay, so for my situation, I'm on medium,
Yeah.
and it happened to be.
All right, so let me change to medium. So I'm on Zoom background noise removal. I'm on medium.
We're still hearing you. Well, it's
Yeah.
fading in and out.
Yeah, nothing. I haven't gotten any pop-ups. I don't know. It's an interesting question.
When we're done with this one, I have a related one.
Can I just ask, did you all do the release notes
There wasn't anything.
for August 5th?
Oh, for
There's
next week,
something
no.
kind of big coming.
Yes, they did those.
Yeah, we've made a note of it.
Oh, you're talking about Zoom Docs?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Frank, let us
Hello.
know.
Oh my gosh.
All right, David, give us your opinion on it. Go
I
for
have
it.
no opinion on it.
All right.
I'm just excited. We've been waiting for so long.
Yes, I told everybody. I actually brought up an actual old press of that. Actually, let me bring that up again. That it was released in Zoomtopia 2023 that they were talking about this.
You know, what I didn't understand about why it took so long is they have notes, and I guess I don't fully understand how radically different this is from just notes. I mean, the notes that we have now, they're collaborative. They have basic editing features.
Right.
I mean, this is essentially Zoom Docs. I don't, unless they're, I don't know.
Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll actually pop up the actual. This is the. Oh, hold on one sec. There we go. All right. So this is the actual article that came back out in actual October 2023. So this is a bit of the actual screenshots of, as you can see, Zoomtopia 2023 is when this came out.
I remember it looked really cool.
Yeah, so this is one screenshot of it that you'd be able to do that and again, this is based on a Mac because we can see the actual stuff there. So that's this project here. And then if you're actually looking at it within a meeting, that's what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
And again, these are old screenshots back to the Zoomtopia 2023 days. When they were
And
coming
that
out.
looks nothing like notes.
Well, I mean, so here I've got notes open, and I mean, you've got your basic, what do you call it, up here at the top. You know, you can type. I mean,
In your notes, show me columns, show me all that other stuff.
no, you're right. Absolutely. I guess I was just wondering, you know, to take notes and add features to turn it into docs. Look, what do I know? It just doesn't. I was surprised at how long it took. Is all I'm saying. Given that they have
This is a
notes
big
already.
gamble by Zoom.
You think so?
Yeah, definitely. Because the problem is not, can I provide a word processor for Zoom? That's easy. The question is, at what level do you provide a word processor for Zoom? Are you trying to provide a better text editor? Are you trying to be a Google Docs? Are you trying to be a Microsoft Word? And they've got to balance that against what they think they can take over in the corporate space. So this is a big gamble, because if they make it too simple, the corporates will say, well, it's a waste of time using it. And if they make it too complicated, then people will say, I can't use it because I've got to learn a completely new app. So this is actually quite a big gamble for them. And I'm not surprised they took a while to think about it. They've probably done a lot of consultation with their corporate clients. You know, I can't see And we've got people here, so I can't see big education establishments dropping their subscription to other word processors and taking this on. So it's going to be interesting to see how it's used by big corporates, big education establishments, and how much it can encroach upon the other two major products.
I agree. To me, that's the big question. How is it going to differentiate itself? I mentioned last week I was on a call with a research call with someone from Zoom, and the question they kept asking me is, if you're not using a Zoom tool that does what another tool does, what would bring you over? And for me, it was portability. What I mean by that is, for me to be able to use Zoom Docs in any meaningful way, I need to have all of my Google Docs easily ported over. I cannot be fumbling between the two. One of the second things that I need is I need easy access. So I need a mobile app that accesses it well. I need on the desktop. I'm sorry, go ahead.
One of the exciting things about it is that it says you will be able to access this when you are not in a Zoom meeting. And hopefully it will be something where any one of my friends that I want to share with, I can simply email them a link and they can come and join it without having to set up a Zoom account, without having to have Zoom open, so that's, I think, one of the big things, and we'll see how it works out.
I wonder if you'll have to have a Zoom account. It's an interesting question.
You'd have to.
You would. For Google Docs,
you have to have a Google account to use Google Docs.
To use it, but not to view it.
To view, not to view, but to
right. To interact with it, you have to have an account. Yeah.
But from a security point of view, Lewis, a lot of people wouldn't like that idea.
A lot of people don't use Google Docs for that reason. Not the people that are in this room, but there are a lot of people in the world that just don't want to have anything to do with that sort of stuff. So Luddites, all of them, Luddites.
Yeah, so I just wanted to show quickly for everybody so that that is the actual picture of what it should look like within an actual meeting itself when you're actually doing.
Well, that's what it looked like in 2023. We don't know what it looks like yet.
Correct. So we'll see. So this is definitely at the level of, we'll see what's going to happen.
It's interesting that they're going to have AI and translation and all that stuff in Google Docs. So.
Right. And again, if they're just translating the text from one language to another, that's not as bad, as Robert could detest. If you're doing audio or video, then obviously that's a whole different level.
Frank, you're saying Google Docs. You mean Zoom Docs?
Sorry, I meant Zoom Docs. Yeah, Zoom Docs will have translation, AI, probably summaries. They're tying their AI into everything if you allow it.
Do you think, I'm just reading this for the first time now, the release notes. The way it's written, the second sentence, it says, to make the most of their meetings, users can transform past and present meetings into actionable documents, wikis, and projects. Do you think that, I guess I'm wondering, is Zoom going to have, is this going to be an equal partner? Zoom Docs, is that going to be an equal partner with Zoom meetings and Zoom webinars? What I mean by that is, will it be, if you had an organizational tree, is Docs going to be underneath meetings, or is it going to be on the same level? The way it sounds here is that it's underneath meetings, that it's still connected to meetings.
I think you're very meeting centric, and I don't think you should be. There's lots of companies who buy Zoom
meetings, webinars.
Yeah, but there's a whole other bunch of Zoom tools where like there's Zoom coaching, there's Zoom customer service success center, whatever it's called. There's all those other things where
contact center.
There's all these other ones where maybe you bought the product for that, Zoom telephone. So having docs in those systems would probably be just as equally
that's fair.
applicable as having it in meetings.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. I just wonder though if they are thinking of it as something that is across the entire ecosystem of Zoom, because the way it's written, it just sounds like they are born out of meetings or webinars. They're connected to meetings and webinars, and I guess I'm wondering.
I think it's probably going to have a lot to do with Zoom team chats and channels. You might be using that instead of Slack, and you want to share documents and never ever start a Zoom meeting and still have much use for a document system if you don't want to use the existing ones.
Lois, go ahead.
Well, when we get done talking with this, I have another question. Now's a good time? Yeah?
Going once, going twice. Sold. Go ahead, Lois.
All right. So when I was recording our last radio show, my partner said, "That's weird. When you started talking, your voice was low and it sort of came in and then it was steady. But if I haven't been talking for a while," and on our radio show, he's the expert, he does most of the talking. He'll talk for 10 minutes and then I'll come in with another question. And he was finding that my voice was starting up and then getting steady. Is that something that have y'all noticed that today?
No, but do you let Zoom manage your audio levels?
No.
You do or you don't?
No.
Are you sure?
Well, I turned off the automatic thing and
Okay, because
maybe there's some place that it does, you know? You might be right, because
maybe it's your operating system.
Yeah.
my audio levels have not changed since I started.
Yeah, but what most people don't realize is Windows, iOS, Mac, most laptops, most computers now have drivers or utilities or built into the operating system audio enhancements, audio controls that are acting automatically unless you go and search them out and stop them. And your operating system might be doing this, not necessarily Zoom.
Wow. Because it's a new effect. It's not something that's happened before. So I guess
You're on a Mac, right?
I'll have to call Apple and find out how to get in there and stop that.
Well, you don't have to call Apple. It's in your operating system. You can just Google it. There's lots of documentation on the web. Wide spectrum audio and normal spectrum audio are the search terms you should be using for OS X, or it's not OS X anymore, but I said that for a generation. So,
And what's the difference between wide spectrum audio and narrow spectrum audio?
noise suppression, built-in noise suppression, echo cancellation. It's managing your audio. Hey, balloons. It's managing your audio for you.
I see his mouth moving, but not
Did
hearing
you see
it.
my balloons go up, Lois?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. So that is, how we can put this politely, that is an example of Apple interference.
So,
I don't consider it interference. You can turn it off if you don't like it.
Because I didn't enable that feature. It's been added by Apple. It's got nothing to do with Zoom. It's got nothing to do with my camera. It is Apple have added a feature that if I do that on my machine, it then starts, when it sees it properly, it will start doing that. And I can get fireworks as well.
See,
So-
I turned it off. So like you have control over these things.
And that's what's happening in the audio world as well. So that's just a more graphic example of how apps just add features when we didn't ask for them and then interfere.
But this is happening on Windows. It's not just germane to Apple. I mean, I see lots of posts in the Zoom community where people have no idea that their audio drivers have all these utilities built into them, and they're enabled. HP has it. All the laptop manufacturers are doing this now. And I can see why. Like people take their laptops to noisy places like coffee shops, and then they fire up conversations on the web with people, and they're trying to manage the audio for you.
So as long as I'm not speaking, it doesn't hear a human voice and it thinks everything should be suppressed. And then once I start speaking, it's going, "Oh, she's talking now. We better give her some sound." Is that what it's doing?
Maybe, but
Yeah,
your
sort of.
sound has changed. We can hear you at the moment, Lois. When you were listening just now and then started speaking, you came in really low and then you started going up, just the way you described.
So it's happening right here, right now.
Yeah, the extreme version of it is when people are 5 feet away from their laptop and the laptop inbuilt laptop microphone is there. And Zoom's trying to work out, is this noise I'm hearing? Is that somebody speaking a long way from the laptop or is it background noise? And then you get the problem where it doesn't know what to do. But as Frank said, Windows has got nice features like that as well now. Every time you buy a device, like I've got Rode X audio device, and it's got all controls in it that are set by default. And what's really naughty, of course, is sometimes these apps start fighting each other because they're in a line. So one ups the volume and the other one downs the volume, and then one ups the volume, and the other one downs, and you can get all these stupid things going on. And you can usually show in a laptop situation when they're too far away from the microphone, because eventually the system just can't cope with them and it doesn't get the volume right, and they just cut out as being seen as background noise. But as Frank said, it's a problem, and if you see it when you're in a Zoom meeting, you're immediately just going to blame Zoom every 5 minutes for it, even though there are lots of other things. And sometimes you get people who say, "Oh, this Zoom doesn't work anymore," and then halfway through the conversation, like five chats within the conversation, they'll suddenly let you know they've just got a new microphone or a new headset or new earphones, but they're still blaming with Zoom because it's in Zoom that it happens.
So I have just moved my microphone much closer and turned down my volume so that hopefully I won't blast anybody out. Is it sounding better? Did you hear that lead up?
Did not. So it almost seems like, Lois, that John and Frank are right, which is basically your microphone, of course, is going to prevent the it's doing the mix minus, right? We've talked about mix minus before. So it's doing its best to do a mix minus of not sending through what my audio is back through from the speaker back through your microphone back to me. So Zoom is doing its best. So as the amount of volume in your room is louder and then your voice comes in, then it goes and it starts elevating the audio level. But it's gradual because it has to understand what it should be grabbing now, and it understands, oh, Lois is talking, so I'll make sure it's at the setting that you've set, even though you've taken off automatic, and that's can be done. It's a similar functionality that Zoom also has with the automatic portion of it, but it's just a little more not as aggressive.
I put a screenshot of the controls, Lois. So there's standard and there's voice isolation. Depends what device you're on. iOS has it as well, so iPhones and iPads have it as well. Current ones, anyways, maybe not the older ones, but
Yeah, I'm on iMac, and I'm trying to see where that is.
do you see the green icon in your top of your computer that looks like a camera?
Right, that's the Zoom icon, right?
It's actually FaceTime, but the way Apple's implemented is a little weird. When you're in a Zoom call or another video conferencing application, this FaceTime settings apply to multiple types of
Great.
yeah, so the controls are in there. If you click on the green thing,
Voice isolation, yeah.
yeah,
Which
so down at mic mode, you'll see standard and
voice isolation?
yeah. So
Which do I want?
well, if you have voice isolation, then anytime it hears anything ambient like a guitar, or probably if it perceives you as singing, it's gonna try and knock that stuff out. If you put it on standard, then it'll let all the sound through.
And on Zoom, I have just switched to original sound on. So I should do both of these?
They have to be in harmony, or they'll fight each other. So you could turn it off in Zoom and then your operating system will keep doing it. And Zoom gets a lot of blame for this because most people don't know how their operating system works anymore.
So if original sound is on, which of these do I want? Standard or voice isolation?
Standard. It depends what you're trying to achieve. Voice isolation is going to make sure your voice is the only thing that's getting through, and it's going to try and stop things like the TV in the background, your fridge motor humming. It's anything that it doesn't think is voice is going to try and cancel out somehow.
And so you've heard my problem, which is in recording, I was talking, and then I got it right. So which settings do I want to fix that problem? Standard and original sound on?
Probably. If you, the other thing I said, like, just make sure that Zoom's not managing your audio levels for you.
Right.
Otherwise, it may ramp up and down trying to adjust the gain for you. It's just
Yeah.
auto gain, really, is what it is.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much, Frank. You're very helpful.
How do I sound? I'm on a pair of earbuds at the moment. Since I'm in a control room.
The sister's in Paris. It's the sister's husband.
Yeah.
I don't know who the woman is.
Oh, we hear you, Fred, but we also heard somebody else in the background there too.
Well, there's a lot of people here. I just was curious how this sounds because I'm on a pair. I'm listening to one earbud.
Sounds good.
It does sound good. What are you working on, Fred?
So here, get my thing on. So here we have a friends and family shot ready for. Let's see, we are going to do beach volleyball here in a minute. So this is somebody from friends and family with beach volleyball. Beach volleyball is going on up there. I'm one of those.
Wait, are you doing the Olympics?
I am doing the Olympics.
Wow.
That's cool.
So here's the people I am working with today. There's all these rooms, right? And we're all in glass booths. So there's a room over there, and this is our room.
And you took time out to come and visit us.
I know. Fred, what
And
is
there's
your
another
job
room
there?
over there. I am doing all the mixed minus feeds for the friends and family. So if one of the USA people wins this volleyball game, they'll come over and do a mix zone, and they get to talk to these people right here, which is a laptop set up in their living room, and they get to talk to them.
What are you
Pretty cool,
using
huh?
for that though? SRT, or are you using Zoom? Like, what are you doing to talk to these families?
It's all done through LTN.
Cool.
What's LTM?
Yeah. They're a transmission provider like Vivix, or like a satellite provider, but they're fiber generally, or actually they're IP. So
That
yeah,
is
I just thought I would
very cool.
thought I would just drop in and say hi.
Oh my
Since,
goodness. Thank you
I
so
had you.
much.
I had you on my radar today.
That is just wild. Oh my goodness.
Here's a guy who knows his audio.
I tell you something. You have a mix minus question? Fred's your man.
Well, it's weird because I don't have a mixer, right? I've got this comm panel here that I talk to the trucks on, and I have this, what they call a PAP over here. And I have 18 pages loaded up on that of 32 that are available. And so, I've got this IFB right here, my IFB1. So this one is being fed to these guys. And if I hold that down, it shows me that I'm sending that mix minus to them right now. Yeah, that's how it works. I'm a giant router.
I joke that you can never have too many buttons and monitors, but that's just terrifying. I mean, that to me, that's just.
No, what's terrifying is the EBS guy up here. He's got lots of buttons.
Wow.
With all that stuff.
I agree, David. I'd be afraid to push the wrong button.
I agree 100%, Lois.
I would.
Now, Fred, for everybody's sake, you're actually in Paris, or are you here?
I'm in Stamford, Connecticut.
Right. So you understand everything, guys, that all those feeds are coming back to him live from Paris.
Correct.
I have a silly question. So you said LDX, LTX?
LTN.
Oh, LTN, sorry. So what's, again, silly question, forgive me. What's the difference between LTN and Zoom? Like, could you use Zoom for something like this?
You could in this particular deal, but LTN's just the provider that they happen to choose for these particular feeds. And it's really cool because it's all IP based. So any device, we could just send them a link. Doesn't matter what's a phone or a computer or whatever, and they click on it, and they can either be a camera or they can be a monitor. It can't be both. And it just goes right into their system. Pretty cool.
Wow. But from a
so anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt the meeting.
no, not at all. But from a technology perspective, Zoom could handle what you're doing over there. Hypothetically,
yes, absolutely.
it could. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Best
Yeah,
interruption
it's just that
ever.
this is a higher...
John says best interruption ever. Exactly.
It's just a better, it's always at least 1080p, whereas Zoom is always, running up and down the spectrum of resolutions. This is fixed.
So that's interesting. It's not dependent on the device, on like if it gets a lower feed, does it scale it up?
I believe that they would have to do something to it over in BOC, the Broadcast Operations Center. But generally LTN send out these laptops, so it's their laptops, it's their property. Or I think in the case of this one actually the last one we did, the laptop belonged to the guy we were talking to. So it might be what this one is too, because I noticed that some of them have better pictures than the others. So it could be older laptops with older webcams built into them. But it's kind of fun because here, like I said, if I spin this around, you can see the dad's going to get a beer. And they're all waiting patiently for this to all
very
happen.
big brother with you guys just kind of staring into their house.
Yeah. It is kind of big brother, yes.
That's amazing.
And then Lauren over here is booking shows for tomorrow. So
Hi, Lauren.
I can't hear you, but so I'll get another one of these sheets tomorrow. It'll have all of our stuff on it.
Wow.
And yeah, that's what I'm doing until the 11th of this month.
Now, Fred, is it for specific groups within the, like, is it specific to like the volleyball team or the X team or Y team, or are you doing it for all the different teams that US is supporting in Paris?
Yeah, it depends on what gets up. Like today we did diving, soccer, archery, water polo, swimming, BMX racing, and beach volleyball.
Right, so it's not specific, so it's everything within the US Olympic team.
Yeah, basically it's the friends and family. And then a lot of them are watch parties where there's just a bunch of people get together and watch. So they'll just cut in a shot of them, clapping when something cool happens. And then some of them we actually get to do this two-way thing where that's where I come in. So it's very cool.
I am so impressed. I am speechless.
Lots of monitors.
Lots of monitors, lots of multi-views, lots of gear. I see some live view up there, Fred.
Yep, there's live views. There's what is the other one called? TVNs. Yeah, the live views. Those are there's those 5 up there on the top. Those are ours. So the ones I can actually pull one up over here. No, that's the volleyball. Yeah, they're not really shooting anything right now.
Yeah, they're on screensaver right now. That's why they're showing the logo.
Yeah, so their number 3 just came to life. So it looks like they're outside of the truck. Let's see if I can zoom in. I can do that when I'm in this mode. I bet I could pull it up on this monitor here. So let me go. Home. And modes. 300s. 313. Yeah, so they're walking. Those are the trailers in Paris, I'm gonna guess. camera guy's following his audio guy. And they're going somewhere.
The camera guy is streaming live while he follows his audio guy?
Yeah, because they have the package turned on, and while he's walking, he's just,
Oh, okay.
he's just, I don't know if they're coming back from a venue or they're going to the venue.
Yeah,
But
David,
this is the
we
first-
call this in the broadcast world, we call this the raw feed.
The raw
Exactly.
feed, right?
You can't get any more raw than this. Pete, go ahead. You had a question.
Yeah, I got a question for Fred. Is someone providing the signals to you, or is it part of it is your own guys?
No, these are all live view packs. So this is all, I believe this all comes over the internet. Comes into the broadcast operations center and then gets put into the system.
Okay.
I think there's just over 4,000 video feeds to and from Paris.
Wow.
And the minimum, Fred, the minimum is 1080p, right?
Yes, it's 1080p 50.
Oh, goodness. Oh, meltdown.
Let's see.
Meltdown.
Wait, did you see all those? What? Look at the wall. All those
like-
wires.
So like that's the set that NBC is using.
Yeah, bars and tone. Hmm.
See if I can find one here that's going to tell me what it is. Yeah, so it's that one's 1080 60i.
Mhm.
Find another one. So it's 1080p 50 is generally what we're trying to run.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Again, with the 50 coming in, because again, it being PAL and it being based
Right.
in Paris.
Right.
Fred, it's okay that we're on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, this isn't very zoomy, but this is the coolest thing I've ever seen, I think.
Well,
This-
just giving
especially
you a
this
little-
shot here, by the way. This shot to me is look at all the wires. Just the amount of cabling on the walls is unbelievable.
Yep.
That's incredible.
So yeah,
Just imagine the
it's
size of
it's just a little
Sorry.
behind the scenes. I can't leave it there, too much longer, but it's kind of fun. Anyway, I'm gonna have to probably jump back out here, but I'm gonna just listen to you guys continue on with the show, and if I got something to impart, I will jump back in.
Cool, Fred. Thank you.
Thank you,
Awesome.
Fred.
Robert,
ahead,
did you wanna?
Yeah, I was just that cameraman was walking for about 10 minutes, and there was no end to all of that. That place is huge. It's not a maze, it's just huge.
Yeah. Again, the stats of how many cameras are located, how many feeds are live that Fred would probably even have access to, depending on what he's doing, is enormous there for the Olympics right now. Enormous is probably even too small of a word. Go ahead. Dave.
Do the communications companies come in and put up new towers and for cell service and to make all this stuff move? Is that part of how you beef up the location? Wow.
Yeah. Fred's agreeing, even though he can't talk to us right now, but Fred definitely gave us a thumbs up.
Yeah.
There basically for the Olympics, there was actually additional Wi-Fi. Well, in this case, the live view boxes are using 5Gs guaranteed. So the 5G network infrastructure in France was upgraded, especially around Paris, because again, with the majority of the events you saw volleyball, they're live outside, right? Now the feeds coming from the cameras guaranteed are probably wired, but again, if there's going to be people interviewing people there live, they'll probably have what you saw Fred showing us, which is the person wearing a backpack with a live view box and has his camera on his shoulder. And that's where we're basically watching, was that camera was on the shoulder as the guy was walking in the back area there.
I have a question about how big media does interviews. I've had just a couple of times been interviewed on, like a CNN or something like that. And what they've always done is they put me in a room or in front of a camera outdoors, and I have nothing to look at. It's not a multicast like Zoom. Like I can't see the person who's talking to me, and I've never understood why they don't do it like a Zoom meeting and let me see the other person that I'm speaking with.
Well, the two things.
Usually they don't have a return. Usually they don't have a return. By the way, that they just walked in. So I'm just to answer your question, they just walked in there at track and field. So they're getting ready to do a live shot with the lady in the orange. So she's, I don't know if she's with NBC or if she's with one of the news stations or whatever. But yeah, so just you're talking about exactly what's going on right now.
Right. So why don't they have a return feed? Is there a reason why they choose not to do that?
The easy answer I can give while Fred's doing that is bandwidth, because again, the amount of bandwidth you're using up that extra video channel then coming out of the live view unit that is now going to take away from the bandwidth that you could upload, right?
There's a couple of
And the other thing today is latency. You know, they used to be able to just stick an off-air monitor. If you were a local news person, you used to be able to just stick a local off-air monitor with some gravity, right? And watch it live on the air. But now everything's late because it's all digital. So you can't do that anymore.
That makes sense. Someone else was jumping in. Was that you, Pete?
Go ahead, Pete.
So I've worked in broadcast TV, and there's several reasons why you don't see, if you're being interviewed, you don't see the other person. One is they're not set up to do it. The other one is, let's say, someone could be asking you questions. You're not going to know who he or she is. They're going to record it. The next day, it's going to broadcast, and the anchor is asking the same questions while an engineer is playing the recorded interview of you coming back.
Right.
So if you watch broadcast news once in a while, local stations, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It's mostly the big networks do it, like NBC, CBS. Okay. The anchor will ask a question, but it's already scripted, and someone local in Denver or Portland or wherever, has the same questions. It's sometimes it's live, sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the other part I was going to say too, Pete, was that chances are some of it actually might be actually queued videotapes of the replies.
Yeah. They are. You can tell sometimes when it's off a little bit.
I'm only asking because one of the gifts that Zoom has given us is the gift of eye contact, and that we can look at another person when we're talking to them. Anyone who does traditional streaming and just has to stare down the barrel of a camera knows that that's not natural. It's sometimes uncomfortable, and so it's just an interesting choice to not give you someone to look at when you're doing a hit without a physical person interviewing you, and just to have you stare at a camera. It's just an interesting choice.
So I used to shoot and edit news for the big companies here in Canada, and sometimes I get sent out with a reporter, sometimes I wouldn't, sometimes a producer would come. Usually what you do is you stand the person who's the reporter as close to the lens as possible and a little bit behind the lens, and then you get the eye contact from the person you're interviewing. It looks like they're looking into the camera. If I don't have anyone with me, like a reporter or somebody, then I tell the person I'm about to interview, talk to me, even though I don't look like I'm looking at you, talk to me like I'm looking through the eyepiece of the camera. But it'll give the illusion when people watch on television that they're talking into the camera.
Gotcha.
It definitely, being a live reporter on the scene is an art. It's an absolute art, because again, you've got to remember too that a lot of these are what they used to call gun and runs too, is that all of a sudden people nowadays, it'll be you have the backpack, but yet you're running after that person because you would need that question answered by that person as they're walking, right? So again, to set up a monitor for that person to see who that person is, that it would be way too much production time to do that in a studio, of course, but when you're running gun and you're out in the boonies, then let's say there, you are lucky to get what you get there, that you actually have the reporter, and the reporter's mic is actually working and you're not using the microphone on the camera. And also you have to make sure too that, the IFB that's in the reporter's ear can actually hear back, because that's actually coming through the live view unit as well. But it's strictly audio, not audio and video, because again, less bandwidth, because it's just strictly audio.
David, you've just reminded me there were times when we have people who are doing a solo at a town hall to a live audience that is on a webinar, and they feel so awkward that I've seen situations where they've actually printed out faces of people they know and put it behind the camera, just so that they get that natural feeling of speaking to someone. It's like you said, it's very awkward to stare down the lens of a camera and speak by yourself for half an hour, for whatever time.
I remember I love watching, what's it called, with Penn and Teller, Fool Us. And during the pandemic, when no one could have audiences anymore, they put up video screens so that the performers could have, someone, as it were, to look at. I'm sure a lot of shows did that. Yeah, and that's why, I've never fallen in love with webinars, because I need to see the people that I'm talking to.
It's really funny. You talked about that. I came across the WWE feed yesterday, and Lauren had never seen WWE before. And every seat in the arena was a monitor. There were no people there. So it was obviously from COVID times, but the entire arena was monitors with people's faces in it. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Was it live? Were they live feeds of people?
Yeah. Yeah, they were.
Wow.
Yeah. And again, they did this for hockey games as well. So they actually, in the arena, they actually blocked out certain sections that they actually had, and they actually did simulate crowd sounds for the players as well. So they had a bit of reaction of, when they scored, they actually had the crowd going nuts, as if there was a crowd there, even though there wasn't a physical body inside, minus the production crew.
It really speaks to the importance and the power of feedback. You can have all the best technology in the world, but if there isn't someone on the other end that is feeding you back, even if it's just, through hand motions or something like that, your presentation, what you offer, isn't going to be as energized, as dynamic, because you're not being fed.
Imagine band members when they first got on ears, right? And they didn't feed any audience mix into their ears, right? So they felt you're standing in front of an audience and you're completely disconnected from them because you can't hear them.
Back in the 80s, there was a short-run television show called Max Headroom, where they actually, some of the networks became two-way within the television show. It wasn't a real thing. It was within the story of the television show. The character Max Headroom could talk to people and they could talk back to him through the network, through the TV network.
When I used to perform, I never understood. I had a band at one point, but most of my stuff was solo. I never understood the importance of the IF or the monitor, the in-ear monitor, because when you're performing alone, I think it's less important than when you've got a band. But it was so important to me to hear the audience that this just ended up being distracting to me. Of course, that was before he could feed it all together, right?
It does, even I've seen it, and this is an example from the country world that Blake Shelton actually freaked me out. I actually saw him recently in a concert because he was if you've ever seen the US The Voice show, every time Blake performed, they had to put a monitor on the ground so that he could be heard or the band could be heard. What he wanted in his monitor was a physical monitor on the floor. Now, finally, after all these years of Blake having monitors in front of him, he's finally now gone with in-ears. Finally, it freaked me out. It's like, it was a bit of a shock for me because, again, I watched it too much for technical reasons, sometimes more than the actual performance sometimes. And I was like, holy moly, he's got in-ears in. And it is a bit of a transition between it because, and again, you'll actually see a lot of times musicians will pop it out. And why? There's usually two reasons. A, the monitor mixer guy screwed up and is not doing the proper mix for him. Or B, that they can't hear the crowd and they want to hear the crowd reaction and it's not being fed properly back because you have to add additional channels from the audio mixer to feed that back into the system. Thus, a perfect example of what we also need on streams if we're in a live venue as well, to make sure that the same information going into an in-ear of the crowd participation is also coming back on a Zoom feed or a webinar feed or a streaming feed.
And they also, when you're using in-ears, they also, there'll be a click track in the in-ears. There'll be instructions about what's coming next in the in-ears. There's all that other stuff. Pete just pointed out that Elgato has a webinar going on right now. I'm on their Discord. Is that is this the webcam one?
Out there who've used a webcam before, you set it up,
Yeah.
You're like, okay, this looks great. You come back the next day,
It's,
turn on your computer, open OBS, ready to stream. You're like, hey, wait,
that was me. Sorry, because
All right,
I opened it up. Sorry. Yeah, it's it looks like it's about face cam, line, and prompter overview Q&A. It's happening right now on Discord if anyone's interested. Elgato came out with a couple interesting things, by the way. I don't know if you guys saw. Did you guys see the this thing? So this is the Stream Deck Plus, but they came out with these two additions, these two plugins for it.
Yeah. So they basically, David, what they've done is they've combined the two products together now. So it physically doesn't take up as much space. They are identical products. They're just not, instead of it being side by side on your desk now, you could actually combine the two together and it's all powered off of the one.
So that's one of them. So one of them is right. They took the, what was it called? The Wave XLR.
Yeah.
That's this guy right here. But then the other one is a little hub, which is kind of cute. I mean, I wouldn't recommend using it because it's not a powered hub. So it's not going to give you, it's not going to deliver the USB power you need. But if you don't need that, this is a key, and it fits, if you've got a Stream Deck Plus, it fits right underneath. It's really kind of cute, actually.
I've been looking at one of these during the week because if you have a Mac Mini and you have a limited amount of USB ports, you plug in a USB-C and you've suddenly got a large amount of ports to use. It looks really cool.
It does look cool. I would almost 99.999% of the time say don't spend your money on that and instead buy a Thunderbolt hub, a CalDigit, or a what's the other one called, a OWC, because this is not Thunderbolt. This is just USB-C, and it's not going to deliver the power that you need for even for another Stream Deck. You couldn't. I don't even think another Stream Deck would work plugged into this, to be honest with you.
That's what I realized when I started looking at it and looking at the details. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Now again, that unit does, the Robert or that David was showing, that unit does attach to a baby, like the Stream Deck that has the 8 buttons plus the 4 dials. Those two actually are together, so that where you were losing the real estate was, that's where they actually ended up putting the Elgato XLR portion, or the hub portion in the back.
Because underneath the Stream Deck Plus is just empty space. I've never quite understood the need for a Stream Deck Plus, but that's just, Pete, do you have one?
Oh, go, Robert.
David.
No, Robert.
David,
all right,
let me tell you, I've discovered the beauty of the Stream Deck Plus. But it was only last week, I must admit. I mean, I've had one for over a year. there's a set of plugins for DaVinci Resolve that allow you to do magical things. You can change from each of the different function areas and work with the different areas that you need to deal with. And the cool part is I find it very useful to move between tracks. You've got a knob, you can just move between tracks, switch a track on, switch it off. And the cool thing is, of course, you're doing this with your left hand while you have your right hand on your mouse, and you can do other things. And that is really useful.
There you go. There you go.
But it's the first real thing that I've found to use the Stream Deck Plus for. Up to now, it was just playing with it.
So, John, were you not saying you have a, was that an Elgato XLR? Go XLR? Or no? For your SM7B?
No, this goes into a Rode X.
Oh, Rode X, right. That would be officially the competition, officially. So, cool.
But the nice thing about the Rode X is that my Rode Pro little microphones, the clip-on microphones, of which I have 2 sets, they can talk directly into the Rode X as well.
Yeah, the Rode Wireless goes.
Yeah. Well, I've got the Rode Wireless Pros, and I would recommend them if you can justify a little bit extra money, because with the 64-bit, you're going to get a backup recording that's always going to work, even if you have lousy audio.
Yeah, close.
And they do last 7 hours, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, and John's close. It's 32-bit float is what he's talking about.
Yeah, as opposed to 16-bit.
Yeah. Now, again, that is for the people that don't, in my mind, don't set their audio levels properly when they're recording such. So it allows for the inexperience to actually get up to, so that you're not actually peaking out beyond the 16-bit. But again, most audio, including CDs, back in the day were only 16-bit. So we'll take that in consideration too. Okay. Oh, and Fred's still busy. I can see him there. I'm monitoring what he's doing. He's a busy boy over there, so that's cool. So Robert, did you want to show off Mimo Live to everybody?
Or is it show off, but it's not so much show off, but I've been testing a couple of functions on it because I've been playing with I've been looking for ways of getting an audience at the beginning of a big meeting, not just sitting there staring at the screen, but actually looking for themselves, getting involved, and Zoom Tiles works really well because it does all the automation and goes through the different people in the meeting. So if you've got a meeting with nearly 1,000 people, it'll just flow through them and people looking for themselves. With Mimo Live, I was looking to do the same thing, but I can't find the automation on here. The middle person I've set up to come up when whoever the speaker is. However, the people on the side are permanent, and you have to change them, swap them in and out manually. I have Frank set up in there, and John with the face tracking, so that's why when you're moving it around like that, you're just getting a mess. It's doubling through. Frank, look at himself, distorted. So this is one of the other things that I've been looking at getting people just involved and concentrated on what's going to happen during the event, and not just sort of floating away and ignoring everything. So yeah, that's what I've been doing with Mimo Live during this meeting.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I definitely wanted to show that off. Well, yeah, definitely. Fred's still very busy over there, so that's kind of cool too. Bringing us some live, and those were live feed, by the way. When we were actually watching some of the Olympic stuff, there was a couple of clips that we were actually seeing from US-based stuff. Okay, all right. And Mr. Paskin disappeared on us momentarily. What else did I want to talk about today? Let me just see here. if anybody's got any questions, by all means, let's talk about that now. I'm just gonna take a look here. Okay, yeah, we can talk about that briefly. Has anybody played with Zoom Rooms Pro AV? I had David actually set up a channel in the Discord channel. Everybody on YouTube, if you sign up to our Discord channel, you have access to all of us behind the scenes on Discord as well. So if you do have any questions for us, by all means, join our Discord channel. Anybody played with Zoom Rooms Pro AV as of yet from the group that are here or on YouTube? All right, everybody's being quiet on me, so I'm going to assume that's a no. I've been looking into it a little bit because what I'm seeing in the industry right now, and I've had a bit of a conversation with John about this too, is that a lot of the broadcast companies don't know how to properly bring in Zoom into their broadcast system. And for whatever reason, they're still, after all these many months, don't realize that there is ZoomISO or a ZoomISO equivalent. They still feel that it's awesome for them to screen scrape. So we'll either see the Zoom meeting buttons at the bottom, or we'll see the name of the person in Zoom, or we will see some version of that. So I'm definitely interested to see if Zoom Rooms Pro AV will actually take off in the broadcast industry, to see if the actual broadcast industry themselves will actually go, yeah, I'd rather use this than screen scraping, which is what we're doing now, and we're doing it terribly now, for the most part. So I'm curious. But if nobody's had any playing around with that, we don't have to talk about that. Mr. Paskin, did you have anything exciting to add?
I don't think so. I'm looking up what Frank just dropped in the chat. Oh, this is old.
Yes, about
no, it's
Zoom
not.
Whiteboard. Yes, Zoom Whiteboard is also coming out, I believe, Monday as well. Let me just
No,
double
it's
check.
Sunday, it looks like, actually.
Oh, yeah, the 4th.
Which is interesting. They usually don't. I can't remember the last time they did a Sunday release.
They want it to be used gently.
Oh, gently. Interesting.
We're kind of in a quiet time. It's interesting. When I was talking to the live stream guy, he was telling me that he was a little frustrated because he wasn't allowed to push any updates. Apparently there are blackout times when you're not allowed to push updates, and Zoom is in one of those, or was. I don't know if they still are, but so we're kind of, there's not much going on other than Zoom Docs.
Zoom Docs, and I think we did talk about stuff. Go ahead, John.
I don't know what you're talking about. There is nothing going on at Zoom. I have a feeling Zoom is trying to organize updates so they have one update on one part of the platform and then they move their focus to another part of the platform. I think that's why there's a sort of blackout in some sections. But there has been one thing that has been going on in the event space very actively for Zoom events and Zoom sessions, and that's the idea of customized emails. And now in Zoom sessions, we have customized landing pages. So you can create an entire landing page, not only just having your little hub page, but you can have landing pages, and there's a nice editor that works on that. And this is interesting for everybody, although you don't have it yet, because there is a plan. And of course, with Zoom, it's a plan and not exact dates, but there is a plan to gradually migrate this feature across all of the Zoom events versions you can have. And you never know, it might, you never know, something might come down to webinars or events or meetings. I'm not certain it will, but certainly a landing page builder is something which marketing people promotion people, and I don't know why I keep hesitating with my screen here, but I do. Those are starting to build up in the features. So we have it on Zoom sessions at the moment. There is a complexity about how it works in multi-sessions. There can be complexity in how it works across all Zoom events platforms, but it is a much nicer experience, obviously, to have a nice designed to your corporate image landing page than ever it is to just have a standard, Zoom login page.
And there's one more aspect to that, John. That's a really cool feature, because one of the things that we find ourselves doing a lot is doing customized landing pages in different languages. Yeah? Because if you're sending out an invitation in a specific language, then you expect the person who responds to be able to go to a landing page in the same language. And Peter, you coming in twice? Okay. And so if that's the direction they're heading on, I'm going to be really, really pleased with that. So.
There is a workaround. I think that's probably the technical term one. There is a workaround that you can create multiple landing pages, but you have to sort of, well, I'm not exactly, it wasn't explained to me exactly how you do it, but you sort of fake an event. So you make like an anonymous event, and then you bring both the landing pages down to the same event. So it is possible to do some of that, but I don't think they explicitly allow you to define the landing page in every single language at present yet. But that's a good thing to take on.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Frank.
Oh, I have a question. Maybe John knows or doesn't, or someone else. Have you done anything with Page Builder? I haven't used that, but I'm curious about it.
Yes, I've started playing with it, and so far it looks good. I've got to decide, like all these things, you have to decide how much you're going to do outside the Zoom platform and when you're going to put people in the Zoom platform. And if, obviously, I don't have a CRM in Zoom yet. You never know, might come one day. So there has to be a point with my CRM where I'm generating leads and I'm marketing and I'm sending out emails, etc. And I'm now having to decide at what point that now becomes part of Zoom. And maybe the registration forms which I have now, I can start using in Page Builder. But there are a few limitations which some people will be happy about and some people won't. And the limitations are really that the Page Builder, it's difficult. It's not impossible. It's difficult to add content that isn't within the Zoom ecosystem. So if you want to add content that's from outside Zoom, for instance, if you want to embed a video, you're going to have to put it on the Zoom platform and embed the video from the Zoom platform. You can't use third-party platforms.
Yeah, unless it's YouTube.
Unless you play around a little bit with YouTube. Yeah. But again, that's where the workarounds may happen. If you know HTML, you may be able to input and sneak things in there. But Zoom doesn't really want that going on. I think
at least for now. Yeah, at least
Zoom doesn't want that going on. Zoom would like you to think of hubs, which are the subdomains of your empire, where you can group your divisions can have different sets of webinars in their different hubs. So each division can have its own hub. And Zoom at the moment would consider you to want to use the hub as your YouTube replacement. So your engineering team or your marketing team would have a hub and all the events would be there. And also on the hub, you can have a list of all the recordings of all the other events that have happened before that you want to have in that hub.
Right. Right. Yeah. Now, the other big thing that did come out, John, I don't know if we talked about it last week with Ray towards the end of the show last week, but the big thing is now you can actually do 3 sessions per day now. So that is now allowed as of last week, John?
Yeah, so this was a scheduling issue, which there are probably two big use cases for. Use case one is if you're a big organization and you're around the world, you can't really have one meeting and get everybody to turn up because somebody's going to be turning up out from their bed. So if you're a big organization worldwide, you might want to have two meetings doing the same thing, doing the same presentation, so you support everybody around the world. And thankfully, Zoom took that suggestion and then decided that they would go one better for us. And so you can have a repeated meeting, so to speak, where it happens 3 times during the day. The other organizations which would want that is if you've got a marketing organization and you're doing outbound marketing, again, because of time zones, you may want to have one that is useful for people in Europe. You may want to have one that's useful for people in the States. And then the Australians will have to either get up really, really early or go to bed really late to join one of those two. Well, they don't now because Zoom, giving these 3 options, makes it easy for you to have an event with 3 different times that people can log in and use it. And this feature has only just come out. So again, it's not supported across all variations of the system yet, but it's in sessions, and that's where they always start now, whenever they bring out these new features. Or of course, as Robert would say, you could have 3 of them in 3 different languages. So you could have the main speech being delivered in different languages.
And I think we deal with that differently because within Zoom, you can do the interpretation. But where this comes really useful, and I've seen it being used, is like you talk about the different time zones. Basically, when you think about it, the corporate world works in 3 different time zones around the globe. And so where you have the live meeting, which is recorded and played back for the 2nd and 3rd time zones for the same organization, works really, really well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So that was definitely something that was that came up within the last week or two. There's a couple of betas. Johnny, we're allowed to talk about betas publicly or not?
No, not really.
Okay, but there are a couple of betas coming soon to the Zoom events platforms. So I will behave on that. There's just wrote down a couple of different things that were there. I'm just trying to think what would be good for the group to know. Yeah, the public web video embed or verified is what I put down, John. Public video embed. So this now allows you to, if I remember correctly, allows you to now embed the video on social media anywhere you want that was in the Zoom events platform. John, did I do that right or no?
I'm not sure because I haven't tried it in anger yet. That's on my list to do next week, I'm afraid.
Okay, all right. But yeah, so that is what that is, and it allows you to be specific on per domain name base. So if you just wanted it locked down to your domain name, you could do that, or you could make it publicly available for everybody. So there is a list you could actually put in there that X video can be seen by X domain names, as an example. So, or you could just leave it so everyone can see. Page builder we talked about. John, the timer event countdown. And now again, that was in page builder, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, so now that functionality was it there, John? And been improved? I don't know. I'm trying to remember.
No, there's been a lot of questions raised from a lot of people, including myself, about having a countdown timer linked to the event to work on the website because it's quite a good feature. Of course, the next thing we're going to want it is embedded in an email, which again is possible, but will take some tech to set up.
Right. So that now is available, and again, you can resize it however you would like on the actual page builder when you're doing the pages for the event or session. Trying to think, was there anything else? Anybody has any other questions or comments, by all means, go for it. While I'm looking to see if there was anything else that I wrote down this week.
Going back a chapter for
Go ahead,
the
John.
Zoom whiteboard.
Yep.
I'm actually looking now at the possibility of getting a Zoom whiteboard for myself. So if anyone has any suggestions about their experience of that, that would be very interesting to hear.
Frank, any thoughts of what you guys use at the university? Or do you?
I mean, not Zoom whiteboard. We use Microsoft Whiteboard, but different people have different opinions about the classic whiteboard versus the newer whiteboard that Zoom promotes now. Some people aren't happy with the new whiteboard, especially if they're trying to use tablets or pens or whatever to draw. They don't like the way certain functions work, but I do notice that the new whiteboard gets a lot of development. So every month there's changes and updates. Some people are sticking with the classic whiteboard, but I think it's going to get phased out eventually. So they'll be forced to transition to the new whiteboard, but some people seem to hate the new whiteboard.
Very interesting. So just to bring up, here's the actual release notes that Frank was talking about earlier that we should be looking at. So this is what's going to be coming out on Sunday. Why Sunday? Unknown, but Sunday. So the ability to restrict external link sharing for the Zoom whiteboard. So right now that obviously is not in place. So now that ability is now being added. The email and chat notifications management for whiteboard. So account owners and admins can manage email and team chat notifications for Zoom whiteboard. They can disable email and team chat notifications for the entire organization or specific groups. Users can turn email and team notifications on or off at individual level. However, notifications for permission requests remain enabled by default. The feature allows organizations to reduce notification noise and control the volume of emails received related to the whiteboard activities. And don't know if anybody in this group is actually using the Zoom whiteboard. I know we don't at this particular point for anything, but do you see anything that is a standout that you're glad that they made the change? By all means, let us know. Enhancement to the default access level settings. Admins can set the default access level for anyone as editor or commenter in the whiteboard sharing defaults. Okay. Default section of the admin settings. Previously, the default access level for anyone was limited to viewer. Okay, so now we got editor or commenter. All right. This enhancement enables more flexibility, collaboration scenarios, and as a default access level is applied to users' shared whiteboards. Okay, and that was at the admin features level. So the user features level are notify users when account sharing settings prevent meeting users from collaborating on the whiteboard after a meeting. Okay. Notification of exceeding maximum size of individual whiteboard. Frank, is anybody complained about their whiteboards getting too big? No. Okay. All
I've
right.
never had anyone say anything about that yet.
Okay. It's one of those scenarios of somebody did somewhere, obviously, because now that has been implemented. Annotation with stamps, stickers, emojis, and GIFs. All right. So that a new submenu houses these annotation tools, allowing users to add them consecutively on the canvas. Stamps will be added as an annotation tool, while stickers, emojis, and GIFs can be added one by one. Okay. This feature provides a more engaging and expressive way for users to give feedback and collaborate on visual documents. Okay. Cast Zoom whiteboard in a room. Okay. Users can open a previously created Zoom whiteboard in a nearby room is that a Zoom room is a question now with a simple workflow. The open this whiteboard in a room option appears if the admin has enabled the show pair and save setting. Okay, cool. So that's in the admin part. This new flow simplifies the process of sharing and collaborating on whiteboards across devices. So does that mean from a Zoom room to another Zoom room? That is what they're talking
Yeah,
about. Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's a Zoom room.
Okay. All right. So back to this. So restrict viewer actions on shared whiteboards. Owners and co-owners can restrict viewers from exporting, duplicating, downloading content, or making templates from their whiteboards. Okay. By default, all actions are enabled for viewers. Owners can choose whether the restrictions apply to all viewers or only external viewers. This feature gives document owners greater control over how their whiteboards are accessed and used by viewers. All right. Connectors added to Shapes library. All right. So I'm assuming like flowchart capabilities. That's what this looks like it's going to be talking about. So let's read what they got. Connectors added to Shapes library. Users can now conveniently access connectors directly from the Shapes panel. Great. New connector options include straight line, straight arrow, elbowed arrow, and curved arrow. Okay. Yeah, very much similar to flowcharts. Connectors are grouped under a dedicated folder within the Shapes panel, enabling users to swiftly add them alongside shapes. Good. Okay. And sticky note duplication for the last one here. Users can easily duplicate sticky notes side by side on the whiteboard using the Command D shortcut. Okay. Now, is that across all the different operating systems would be the question of if it's Command D for everybody or not. It is. Okay. Everybody's agreeing that it is. Okay. The duplicated sticky notes are placed at the next available position without overlapping, allowing users to rapidly jot down ideas or content. When duplicating frames, both the frame and its content are copied, keeping the content within the new frame. And then they're also doing some minor bug fixes. Okay. So what are our thoughts, guys, about Zoom Whiteboard coming up this week? Well, I guess officially on Sunday.
From a product manager's point of view, I like those updates because they smell to me very much of feedback from users and problems users have had, and Zoom have now sat down and fixed those user issues. So I like that. That makes me feel more confident that this product is now getting to the point where it's starting to be mature and that people have got over the original uses of it and how it was designed and what the designers thought it was going to be used for and what the users are actually using it for is now starting to merge together. And obviously there are issues that users have found and Zoom has made the changes to make it more usable. So to me, it's very good, especially as I said, I'm just about to try and buy one. So yeah, I like this. This is a users-led feedback update, and they're always good to see because some of the software manufacturers don't always take any notice of their users and just carry on regardless. So this is good.
I can imagine I understand the way corporate organizations that in multiple locations use them, but how are you, John, planning to use yours? Do you mind sharing that?
Yeah, sure. I have got into the world of doing a lot of training and demonstrating things. And to be honest, I'm finding it harder and harder to manage to do that sitting like I am in front of a screen with a mouse and a keyboard. And a lot of the things that I'm talking about now, when we're talking about planning webinars and marketing, the whole world of little shapes which do things, which links to other little shapes which do things, and that's a process map, are much more useful now to me. I have a sea of Post-it notes over there, and I think it's about time now that I stop having a camera looking at really badly written Post-it notes and went up to the world of technology, basically. So that's my use case.
Okay, that sounds cool. Because we're talking about a physical unit that you're going to stand next to and have a camera pointing at you, and the screen will be visible for other users. Because that's the scenario you're going to use, correct?
Yes, except the fact that because it's part of Zoom, they'll be able to look at that screen as a separate screen on their computers, and therefore they will see it. But yes,
Very cool. Very nice. Sounds
Last
good.
year, I had a user contact me who wanted advice on how to set up an 8-foot whiteboard in their home office because they refused to use any of these electronic. They wanted, a Sharpie or a marker or whatever, whiteboard marker in their hand, and they wanted to draw and they wanted everyone to watch them draw. And I was like, it's built in, right? No, I don't want that. I want a whiteboard. They really wanted a chalkboard, but they bought a whiteboard.
So you at least upgraded them from chalk. That's good, Frank.
They had already made their purchase. They were trying to figure out how to make it look nice because they had a lot of windows and whiteboards are very reflective, and
Yeah, I was going to imagine.
they weren't controlling their lighting very well. Anyways, it's just there's some people who are never going to go digital.
Yeah, so true. So true.
well, that's a good point, Frank. Lighting, reflection on screens. You then have to have a ridiculous. If you're going to do a TV screen, you need a ridiculously expensive TV screen which doesn't do glare. It's a hole of holes. It really is. So
Yeah.
yes, I have to embrace it. And of course, the big question is, can you do it on a fiddly 27-inch screen? Well, you can, and maybe you should do. But then if you've only got a 27-inch screen for you to see everything and everybody else has got a big screen, you've got a compromise between the two of you. So I think I will have to bite the bullet and get a larger screen so that I can have a large screen. I can zoom in, zoom out, and
So one bit of advice I give people, I've shot millions of chalkboards with people writing on chalkboards. The wider you write, the more you have to zoom out, the smaller the font appears to the viewers watching in the video. It's much better to take your whiteboard and say, okay, I'm going to cut it in half or into quarters. And instead of writing really wide, I'm going to write in these columns so that I can keep the camera zoomed in tight so people can actually see what you're talking about.
Right. And again, too, there are ways, John, of even if you did have a TV or even the glare, just to make sure that you angle things properly off of axis of the camera so that you're not getting any of the lights as such going off of either the TV screen part of the glass in front or either the whiteboard.
There's also special cameras you can get that mount above the whiteboard or the chalkboard, and they shoot down and almost backwards, and then electronically they flip it in the signal, but it will shoot the whole whiteboard or chalkboard for you as a thing that's mounted to above. But
Yeah.
and they have AI in them too, so they can pan and scan regions of interest and stuff.
Go ahead, Roman.
No, I'm just listening with total amazement because it's not something that came to my mind to have a big board in my place. And I don't know, I've learned this from office hours. I've got a small 8M Mini and I've got 3 little Mac Minis connected up to it, and I switch between presentations and something that I'm drawing depending on what I want to show. And I've got to use that, and I was just trying to imagine having to stand up and move to a place. One is you need the room, which I'm assuming you have, John, to be able to do that. I don't have, and the comfort of being in a studio environment where you don't have people doing other things in the same location. So that's a luxury for me, but I'm not sure it's one that I need.
I worked on a project a few years ago where we built you've probably seen them. It's a giant glass board that you draw on, and the camera shoots through the glass, and then we flip it in the video signal so the writing looks the right way to the people watching. You've probably seen a lot of videos like that. It was pretty trendy for a while. That was a $7,000 or $8,000 or $9,000 project to get the right kind of glass and to build the frame and then to put the lighting in the frame and all the other things you have to do was it's a big pain in the butt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. But it can be done, John. A perfect example that's coming to my brain is that if you're familiar with Mr. Wonderful, our Canadian billionaire guy that's on Shark Tank, he actually, when he does a lot of his, that's not a prank, when he does a lot of his interviews for MSNBC, when he's on their show every day, he's actually sitting in front of literally within inches of I think it's at least a 50-inch TV, if not a 65-inch TV. And all he does is just change the background on the TV, and it looks like he's either looking out the window or you've got that total aura of him as if he's in an actual professional studio, but yet he's in his den. It's just a one corner of his den, which is really cool. Okay. All right. So everybody is quiet on a Friday. So we're all getting quiet on me, are we?
Long
All right.
weekend too
Yeah, that's true.
for us.
For us Canucks up here, yes. Yes, it is definitely long. It is definitely a long weekend this weekend. So, all right. On that note, I'll let everybody say bye to everybody on YouTube. So wave, everybody. Yes, everybody gets to see Robert's BMO Live, if everybody in there as well. And I'll say to everybody on YouTube, arrivederci. Have a good, in Canada, we'll be having a long weekend here. So we'll see each other again Fridays at 3 p.m. Eastern. And don't forget to check us out. And if you need our help during the week, definitely join, I should say,